Coming up this week, I'm going to be giving you an update on where I am with this whole half marathon training thing, because it's been a few weeks since half marathon training week 1. So what on earth's happened? What happened to week 2? If you're a regular viewer, you probably know the answer, but I'm going to bring you up to date just in case you're not. But before we get to any of that, I want to follow up on last week's video. Now, I posted the question last week saying, when should you increase your intensity and when should you just run low intensity? And the vast majority of comments that came back were saying, Andy, you want to do 80-20. And there were even some comments from a couple of fellow running YouTubers saying, I've got videos about that on my channel. Now, okay, it's confession time. I've seen those videos and I've read comments in the past from lots of you saying, Andy, use 80-20. But we haven't talked about that actually on this channel before. So what I wanted to do was to pose a kind of open question and just see what came back, because I didn't know whether actually people were going to say 80-20. Maybe other things would have come back, but no surprises really. Everyone was saying, Andy, use 80-20. Apart from Mark, who made the comment, and this made me laugh. He said he prefers to use the 79-21 method because that's just a little bit better, which really made me laugh. That made me giggle. Mark, I was still laughing about that about 2 hours after I'd read it, so that was great. So anyway, 80-20, we haven't spoken about that on this channel. So I will be telling you all about 80-20, or at least the way I understand 80-20, right after today's run. So I'm going to get cracking. It's actually, for me, an early morning run again. I don't know what's going on. 2 early morning runs on the trot. What's happening to me? So I'm going to get out, do the early morning run, and then we'll talk 80-20. There we are, that's 10k this morning. Still look a bit boggy-eyed before the run. That's certainly woken me up. Just for completeness, here are the stats on screen now for my run. And I listen today, sometimes I listen to a podcast, sometimes I listen to music, sometimes, it's just like general music, not specifically run music. Today I decided to listen to some run music at 170 BPM, which seems to be my sort of, I don't stride. So don't think that because that's a reasonably high rate that I'm like really going for it. I've got quite a short stride, and that's just how I kind of plod along. Somebody suggested in the comments actually to last week's video that I should book a session with a running coach. I suppose if somebody wanted a good laugh, that's an idea, isn't it? Right, let's get my breath back a bit. Oh, I'm getting a bit of nipple rub there. Perhaps my 1-pack is turning into a 2-pack. Now, let's talk 80-20. Now, this is the way that I understand 80-20, and I want to preface this by saying that my knowledge of running science and sort of running techniques in general is sort of on a par with Donald Trump's grasp of reality. Barely exists. So take this, with a pinch of salt, but I think this is right. The 80-20, what you do is you spend 80% of your time running at low intensity and 20% running a bit quicker. Now, it might not necessarily be high intensity, it could be moderate, especially if you're an old git. Now, I don't know any old gits, but if you're an old git, then you definitely want to be running sort of moderate and not high intensity, really. But what does that mean if, say, you go out for an interval run? Because that also came up in the comments. Some people said, interval runs are good, and I have done interval running in the past. I've really enjoyed it, but of course an interval run is some higher intensity running and some kind of lower intensity running. So where does that come in the 80-20? Is it a bit of both? Well, this is the way I understand it. If you go out on a run and all of it is low intensity, that's part of your 80%. If you go out and do anything at all above that, so any kind of non-low intensity, so moderate or high intensity, whatever it may be, that then comes into your 20%. So say for example you go out for 4 runs in a week, 3 of those runs are just low intensity, what I call my usual plod, and 1 of those is an interval run. What would that mean? Well, that would actually mean, because some of that interval run is at a higher intensity, that would actually count, that whole run would count as part of your higher intensity. So actually on 4 runs, that would be 75, 25, because you've done 4 runs, 3 low and 1. Yeah, anyway, you get it. So really, 1 run in 5 should be one that has a little bit of more intensity on it if you want to follow that method. That's the way I understand it. Now, there are plenty of people, for example, that I mentioned before that I know are big on 80-20, and I kind of pretended I didn't know about it in last week's video. And like James, Recreational Runner, hi James, and that running guy as well, Chris, hello. And do watch their channels, because they have more in-depth videos, and let's face it, they know a lot more than I do. And they are big fans of 80-20. I know James in particular, big fan of 80-20, even for like beginners. So there we are. So what I need to do really is to think more about this 80-20 when I'm going out for my runs, and to kind of, you know, work it out, really try and build it in a bit better, because I kind of know it in the back of my mind, but I don't really sit down and think, oh, how many low intensity runs have I done, you know, recently, and how many, you know, so I need to kind of do that a bit more. So I'm going to try and do that. Anyway, there we go. The other thing I need to do as well, I suppose, is to sort of calculate. You can look at your heart rate, and I need to look at my heart rate. Like, for example, the run today, I wouldn't have put that down as a higher intensity run, or a moderate intensity. But when I look at my heart rate data, it may be that I, you know, work it out and think, oh, hang on, actually a minute, that was a bit higher than low intensity, if you see what I mean. I probably ought to slow it down a bit. So I need to do some calculations. Sorry if I haven't been looking at the camera here very much, because I'm trying to negotiate my way around the car park and trying to avoid people. Such is the way these days. It's starting to warm up now. This is one of the things, a good thing about going out first thing in the morning. I could actually get used to this. I never thought I'd hear myself say that, but I think I could. Yeah, I've enjoyed this morning run. Yeah, okay, so half marathon. Now, I did a week 1 of a half marathon a few weeks ago, and week 2 hasn't kind of materialised at all. Where is it? And the reason is that I got a little bit of a knock. I kind of not really pulled a muscle, I don't know what it was, but I mentioned that back a few videos ago, so I wanted to take it easy for a little while. And then the weather got hot, I mean really hot, and I wasn't going to go out and start pushing longer distances in those kind of humid temperatures. It's just too much. It is cooling down a little bit. I mean, I must admit that it's about 9 o'clock in the morning now, and when I came out at 8 it was lovely, really nice, and there was sort of cool breeze and it felt cool, but the temperature, you can really feel it already starting to warm up. So the really warm weather's gone, but the humidity is kind of still lingering. So I want to push on, but I want to kind of do it at the right. I don't want to kind of push on and then go back again, because each time I push on, I want to kind of build back up there again. Not necessarily slowly. I mean, a couple of runs I can get there, but I need to kind of work it out, if you know what I mean. So it's still on the cards, and I'm still going to do it. It's just, you know, weather and stuff. Right. Whew. I need to get back now. I need to finish the rest of my cool down. My arm is aching from holding the camera, and oh, that's better. I do have another arm. I could use that, couldn't I? Oh dear. Right. That's it. Just the one run this week in this week's video, because I've waffled quite enough, and I'm sure you're sick of looking at my face. So I'm going to say bye for now. Thank you very much for watching. Do hit the like button if you enjoyed the video. Please leave your comments, because I love reading them. And don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already, because I really do welcome all the subscriptions and the comments and all the interaction. I absolutely love it. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next week.